What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Inspired By. My name's Will and I'm making an assortment of music under the moniker Hush Child. Today I want to show you two convert functions in Ableton that really don't get that much love here on YouTube. The last couple of weeks they've been super handy in getting me to think about production a little bit differently, switch up my workflow, and I think they're hugely beneficial if you're new to production or you're a little bit lacking in music theory knowledge like myself. Let me show you something. This first function is super intuitive. Check this out. I'm going to show you how it works first, but then how I've used it and how you guys can get it to run a little bit more beneficial for your production methods. So what I have in front of me is just 4 chords that I played in with this organ soft preset from the electric device in Ableton. Nothing super exciting there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if Ableton can figure out those chords for me. If we go to the top of the clip and right click, we can scroll down to convert harmony to new MIDI track, and that analyzes very quickly, and underneath it should show us the same notes inside the analog device. It's not always super accurate, but let's see how it did. It's got the right notes, I believe, but just the roll was a little bit off. Let's listen to that first instrument again. Just change the placement of that third note there. So it missed one note. There should have been a D just here, but you're all smart individuals. I'm sure you would have spotted that that particular note was missing, and you could have just thrown it in by looking at the root note or the D up here and filled in that blank. So that's pretty cool. This first tool actually helped me recreate this Final Fantasy theme in a lo-fi, like reimagined orchestration. Check this out and then I'll show you how I made it a little bit more accurate. Something like this would have taken me an absolute lifetime to figure out, not just a quick 45-minute session. So how did I go about doing this? Well, I will be honest, there is some trial and error back and forth, but it was actually a really fun process. I wanted to focus firstly on creating the top line melodies. So you can see that I've named chorus harm or chorus harmony here. And then go on to create the bottom harmonies. And then the other melodies that sit underneath, like the strings. I basically let that convert function influence all of the green regions that you see on this page. I'll give you a really quick insight to how I went about doing this with this yellow excerpt of the song. So once you've got that lined up how you want, it's in time with the BPM of your track, then you just want to hit that convert to harmony function and notice how messy it's going to be with this particular instrument with so many notes going on. Okay, so that's quite intense, and you probably don't need to be a world-renowned pianist to realize that there's probably a little bit too much going on in here, but let's have a listen and see how accurate it was. So this is genuinely how it came into my project. And the first thing I did was try to figure out the key of the piece. And you can do that a couple of ways. You can use a device like Scalar 2. I featured that before on this channel to listen to the audio and try to guess what key this particular music is in. Or you can simply Google the track. If it's well known enough, there'll be lots of websites that dictate what key it's in and what scale to use. Once I had that information, I went over here to scale, and then at least it highlights all of the notes that it should be playing. So if I was in a different key like C, you can see that certain notes wouldn't match up, but it's actually in E minor. So now I can take a look at this and I can find any notes that it maybe shouldn't have put in. One of them being this low frequency that it threw in there. So I can delete that straight off the bat. And I also know that this note probably shouldn't be up there either. So I'm going to delete that one too. And then essentially what I did was using my 0 key, deleted sections of the music that I didn't think was in keeping with creating that top line melody. I can hear this little bum note here, so I'm going to press 0 on that guy too. So I can hear that bum, bum, bum. So I know those notes are probably safe, therefore I can get rid of these notes underneath, and we're moving through. I can still go back and listen to the original clip as a reference and then go back into my piano roll. And once I created the top line melody, all I did was go to that track, duplicate it, and then essentially start again recreating the chord shapes. So then getting rid of the melodies that I'd just written and started with where I probably think chords are occurring. And then I would quantize those and put those into the right shapes. One of the things that you can do to help you, which really helped me when I was creating the string section, I just couldn't pick the strings out of the mix because at this point in the track, there was so many other elements going on. So I had to think to myself, and what I did was throw an EQ on the track. That allowed me to isolate a particular area where I could listen out for the strings. Then what I did was press Command D and duplicate that track because I might want to keep the original for a later reference. And then I took this track and froze it and flattened it so that there was a new piece of audio to work from. So once I'd flattened that, I'm left with what we'll pretend is the string section. And then I can again right click that and go to convert to harmony layer. With this new layer, I've actually got a more isolated version with a lot less notes, which should be a little bit easier for me to use. So that's actually really intelligent programming. For this particular example, this has really helped me figure out what chords are being used for the bass layer. Not to forget, you've also got another convert function here called convert melody to new MIDI track, but I haven't found this convert function to be as beneficial as the harmony to new MIDI track. If you know a way to use it, do let me know in the comments below. I'm going to open up another project and show you something that I think is even cooler. What do you think of that first tip? I absolutely love tools that do the hard work for you. So while this loads, let me tell you why I use DistroKid. They're the sponsor of today's video. Did you know that if you utilize DistroKid, then you can claim an official artist channel on YouTube, which means you no longer have to have a separate YouTube channel for your regular uploads like this episode, and then your official music videos, you can upload them to the same place, and your audience will know it's you because you'll get this cool little 8th note logo as well next to your name. If you want to start releasing your music with DistroKid, then make sure you use the link in the description below. It's a great way to support this channel, and you'll get 7% off your first year. Right, I think that's done loading. Let me show you this second tip. This is really cool. So in front of me, I've got this really fun mashup. On the top here, I've got the vocals from Aaliyah's 1 in a Million. I've got the XX, remember that band? I've got the XX crystallized here, and then I've got some drums below, and then I'm just using a couple of audio loops. I want to show you this really cool convert to MIDI function. We'll come back to this project in just a sec, but let me show you the way that it works first before I show you how I used it. So here I have a little drum and bass loop, and what I'm going to do is right click it and then select slice to new MIDI track. This is really cool. I normally choose quarter notes, and slicing preset can just be built in. I'm going to press OK, and once again, as we saw before, this is going to put it on a new track, and you'll see that we get this upward curve of MIDI layers in the piano roll, and it essentially just follows that clip that you saw before. Let's create a little 2-bar loop, and we can delete this track above. So as long as the piano roll is going upwards, we'll just have the same loop. But this is a really great tool because now we can have fun creating new mashups and even trial a new way of production and trying out breaks. It's a different way of chopping up your samples. We can use the velocity functions on here as well, so that drum roll is a little bit bright for me. So I'm going to turn it down so it has this natural crescendo at the end. Isn't that a cool way to reimagine your samples and in this case your breakbeats? If we go back to the original, we can see how it sounded. And the top version is our reimagination. I think that's cool in itself, but I realized at the bottom there's some parameters for us to control this. And you might have noticed that I kind of scrambled and beat repeat the kind of Aaliyah XX mashup earlier. So I was looking at these functions. We've got our normal ADSR here so we can fade in the samples. So we can create more of a sidechain effect here. We can make things more gated. But if we take it right back to its original settings as the default mode when you slice up your sample, we've also got this loop compress here, which acts as a kind of beat repeater. So that's another function that you can very quickly automate or assign to some macros, perhaps on your MIDI keyboard. And that's what I've done with some of the XX beats here. If I open up the XX instrumental, you can actually see that I've added 2 lanes of automation. One is that loop compression there, and one is the start point. So I'm actually changing the start point of the samples at the end. Check this out. And then with the Aaliyah sample, as I showed you before, I'm turning the attack up so there's no clicks on the vocal and it has that naturally kind of sidechain feel to it. But of course I have added the sidechain compressor, some EQ and some reverb after that anyway. Let's check this out again. Apart from some bass and the effects at the bottom, this was all made from that slice to MIDI track function. Let's have a reminder. As always with Inspired By, I don't think we're going to win any awards with that track, but as you can see, it does just make me smile and it brings a bit of fun back to music making. And I think that's what you guys deserve, especially if you just want to think about your music composition a little bit differently. So what did you guys think? Will you be utilizing either of these tools and how is it going to fit into your workflow? Do let me know in the comments below, and whilst you're there, let me know what you want to see in future videos as well. As always guys, I thank you so much. I've got a lot of exciting videos coming in the next few weeks, so if you haven't already, do subscribe and hit that bell icon as well so you get a notification. If it's been helpful or enjoyable, do give the video a like as well. It's greatly appreciated. As always, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.